It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Question from Tyler. Is there a potential to invest too much? My spouse and I are both pharmacists and invest around 50 to 60%.
Wow.
Is there any changes that should be made at age 26?
Brian, I am going to cede my time to you because I know this is something you're so passionate about. I know this is something that you love speaking into, especially for young people that are high achievers, that really are passionate about like doing big, impactful stuff early on. I know that's something that you got some more wisdom about you, so you've had time to like reflect on that.
I love that. This is where, and I'm going to point this out to my wife at some point, because not that ever works out well, but I feel like I've gotten some additional reps on this type of question, because I had a listener on Twitter who kind of, I mean, it literally could be this question where he's like, I'm saving 50, 60%. But my family, now the example he gave is his family is getting upset when they, like their vacations, they're not kicking them up a notch on flights and other things. And he's like, is there too much? I mean, so here's the answers I gave. And I think this is something that anybody can use, because I have gone on this journey where I come from humble beginnings, but now I've got this level of abundance that it's the weirdest thing. It can play mental tricks on you, and you're trying to figure out what's the why, what's actually good to spend money on, what's wasteful, because you feel like every dollar should have a purpose. So here's what I would say to somebody, because you said they're 26. Mm-hmm. 26 is still so early in the process that yes, you're having tremendous success if y'all can save 50 to 60%, but you still have so much time on your horizon that is that going to be, are you always going to make that money? Because I do think that somebody who's in their 20s, because there's several benefits to being in your 20s. First of all, you more than likely can put up with more in your life than you can in any other places. Like I think about my 20s, if I just got to sleep on the floor of a hotel room,
that's good enough.
That was fine. If I, showered and it didn't have to be clean, it just had to be water coming out of the thing. I didn't need anything. But the older I've gotten now, I'm even questioning what's the pillows they're going to have at the hotel. I mean, it's funny how this happens. I'm like, how did I get here? Because I was, you go from sleeping on the floor of a hotel room because you just needed a place to sleep that night to now you want to know, do they have a pillow menu on the thing? This naturally happens. So I think when you're in your 20s, you can put up with more. So you should prioritize trying to save, but also bedazzle your basic life in a way that your future self will be happy that you made memories. But you were prioritizing that the compounding growth that you get from success. Now, that's for somebody in their 20s, but there's going to be a lot of you who are watching this who are in your 30s and 40s, and you're still saving 50 to 60%, and you'll be like, is this good? So I would ask you, what's your why? Mm-hmm. Why are you saving the money? Because the person that approached me on Twitter, he's like, I really don't have a purpose. And I was like, well, look, I mean, if you're now getting to, like if you have $3 million in your investment account, but yet you're still making your kids, you're still making your wife cut coupons every week and do things that your spouse doesn't want to do, you might be doing it wrong because your happiness is being impacted. Because that's the thing. I don't want you to be Ebenezer Scrooge. There's a fine line between miser and financial mutant. Mm-hmm. You have to kind of know the why of what brings you joy and make sure you're doing enough of what that is. So then this person said, well, look, okay, if I have reached a critical mass and I have a good chunk of money, say, and this is the example I gave him, is he's like, I want to do a nicer trip for my family. Mm-hmm. How do I do this well? And the example I said, well, make it relative. Somebody who's got $250,000 in the bank, in their investment accounts, and they make like $100,000 a year. If you spent $600 on a plane ticket, you wouldn't think that's crazy to go on vacation. So why should somebody who's got $3 million in the bank think that it's crazy to spend $3,000 on a plane ticket because you flew business class? I mean, you can do things like that, but the problem with our society is that you'll see people go out and buy the BMW when they don't have $2 million in their investment account. They have $23,000 in their bank account, and they think that that's enough to go buy the BMW. don't get your priorities wrong, but also make sure you have the why. That is really the plan. Know your number. There's a reason we have that tool sitting out there right now. If you go to learn.moneyguy.com, you can actually figure out what you're saving for and put dollars to it. Because maybe the conversation you have, Tyler, with your spouse is, hey, we've done so much in our 20s that maybe we get to loosen and come off the accelerator in our 30s and 40s and really do the nice vacations, really get to do life like no one else could imagine. That's part of the great, big, beautiful tomorrow. You are practicing discipline while you're young and still enjoy yourself. So you enjoy every decade, but so you can really let it loose, and you don't have to be an old person, because I don't want you to be 75 before you spend this money. I mean, I'm in my 40s and I'm living my best life because of the work I did in my 20s, though.
Yeah, what I love is the feedback loop we have, because there are people in the chat. Tyler actually responded, said, retire early is the why. That's the goal. The reason why I'm doing this is well, great. Having a 50-60% savings rate as early as possible will give you options, so long as you're not missing out on things you can't go back on. Like if you're working 60 hours a week and you're not like seeing your kid have their first steps or, graduate from kindergarten or whatever the thing is, yeah, you can't go back and get that stuff. But if the sacrifices you're making to get to 56% are minimal, and you can do it for a certain period of time and really amplify what that next stage looks like, I think that's okay. You just have to be able to weigh the opportunity costs, both the pros and the cons of making that decision.
Yeah, I mean, because I know we're running long on time, but I think about my honeymoon where we went to our first all-inclusive. The bar was so low. That was just exciting. I was like, I get to order whatever I want to drink there. I get to eat whatever I want. So I'm so glad that I did that, and it was still so cheap and affordable. Same way with the first time my wife and I went to Europe. We went to Italy in our 20s. We did it so cheap. I mean, where we're dragging our bags down the cobblestone, we're taking taxis everywhere. We're not doing anything private. And we're even eavesdropping on the private tours that are going on in all the museums. I look back on those trips with so much warmth and fondness, because even the things that were hardships have kind of blossomed in the memory.
Yeah.
So now that we're doing it as the frothy, way where I'm worried about pillow menus and that stuff, I don't regret the things I did so cheap in my 20s and 30s. Do it that way, Tyler. I mean, still go build the memories, still do the great things, but you're going to find that even doing it on that bedazzled basic way, you'll look back with some fondness on that.